Good evening. Welcome. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Nevada City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. It is 5:30 p.m. We have one closed session item. We will have the city manager announce the closed session item, take any public comment on the item, and then recess to close session. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Pursuant to the revised rules regarding closed session disclosures, on March 7th, 2024, the city received what it deemed to be a credible and substantial threat of litigation in writing titled Amy Freeman versus the City of Nevada City. We'd recommend that you take any public comment on the item and then recess to closed session. I'll note that Councilmember Fleming is joining us now, so I don't have to say what that will count the time when he comes to the closed session.
All right, excellent. And now we will take public comment on the closed session. Hi, Matthew. Welcome back.
Hey, good to see you guys. I just wanted to say keep up the good work, and thanks for the transparency. The actual paper agenda, pretty impressive. And just to have public comment before closed session, you know, the Grass Valley's canceled that for like 10 months, and they won't do it. Last night, if you look at their council meeting, and basically because I'm on the agenda last night, number one thing in closed session, and again 2 weeks ago. So keep your transparency open, and thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. All right. I think we will convene for closed session.
Thank you.
See you in a bit, folks. Welcome. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Nevada City Council to order. Today is Wednesday, June 12th, 2024. It is 6:30 p.m. Happy Pride Month, everyone. Adam Klein, I am going to ask you to please offer us our Nisenan tribal recognition, please.
I appreciate the opportunity. We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people, as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
Wonderful. Thank you, Adam. Council Vice Mayor Peterson, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Thank you all. Madam Deputy City Clerk, will you please give us a roll call?
Councilmember Cece?
Here.
Councilmember Klein?
Here.
Councilmember Fleming? Vice Mayor Peterson?
Here.
Mayor Fernandez?
Here.
All members present.
Excellent. Now we're going to report on closed session. I'd like to ask our city manager to report out on our closed session item, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City Council conducted a closed session on the one item listed on the agenda, and direction was provided to staff, and that concludes the report.
Excellent. I want to say that our city lawyer, Dean Pucci, is with us virtually today. Hi, Dean. Hello.
Good evening, Council.
Glad you're here. We're going to move on to the adoption of the agenda. Council, now is the time for any agenda modifications. Would anyone like to make any additional changes to the agenda, pull consent items, or do we have any recusals to announce? All right, I'm looking for a motion in a second to adopt the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Councilmember Klein and 2 seconds by Councilmember Cece and Fleming. Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Great, motion carries. Moving right along this evening, we do have a presentation, a proclamation for a ribbon cutting for Wildfire Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine. I'm going to invite Dr. Jessica Parker to the podium with me, please.
Hi.
I'm going to read to you something.
Okay.
Excellent. So this is honoring the grand opening and ribbon cutting of Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine. Whereas business initiation, development, growth, and expansion are important threads that bind strong communities, and Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine is open for business at 206 Providence Mine Road, number 115. And whereas Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine is new as a business, but continues the long tradition of wellness practitioners in the city's Seven Hills district. And whereas Dr. Jessica Parker is the owner of Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine, and whereas Dr. Parker notes that, quote, I started my business in Oakland 15 years ago, but soon fell in love with Nevada City. My husband and I have been living in Nevada County for almost 10 years now, and I have been commuting to the Bay Area for almost a decade. I realized this past year that I need to live and work in my community, which is here in beautiful Nevada County. I am thrilled to start practicing along with my associate, Dr. Shoshi London, in our community to offer acupuncture, herbal therapy, and functional medicine, end quote. And whereas a grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony will be held at Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine on Wednesday, June 26, 2024 at 4 p.m. And whereas the grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony will be an opportunity for the city, community, visitors, and other businesses to visit and enjoy Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine. And whereas the City Council and the City of Nevada City wish to recognize and applaud businesses as investors in our community. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Nevada City does hereby honor the opening of Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine and urges those who visit, live, work, and play in Nevada City to shop, to shop services local by patronizing Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine on all of our Nevada City businesses, or by attending the grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony on June 26, 2024. Congratulations. Thank you. This is for you, and I'm going to invite you to say okay.
Awesome. Oh, this is so exciting. Thank you so much. As mentioned, I'm very excited to not be commuting as much, and I still am a little bit, but really just to be in my community, offering my services to Nevada City and Nevada County. So I'm very excited. I'm really excited about the space that we're in. It's a nice collective space with other practitioners, myself and Dr. Shoshi, who is awesome. I'm just excited to be a part of the community in that way and bring health and wellness however I can. So thank you so much. This was so cool. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Welcome fully.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have a presentation, Wildfire Preparedness Events for June 2024. Evan, come on up and tell us what's going on.
Good evening, Council. It's a real brief presentation tonight, inviting you all in the community to 2 wildfire prevention events we have in June. First of which is tomorrow in Siemens Lodge at 6 p.m. Really excited about it. It's a Neighbors to Neighbors kickoff event, so it's partly through the grant we received through California Volunteers Department, or underneath the governor's office. And really focused on bringing neighbors together around disaster preparedness. So really creating a framework where we can create new Firewise communities, create a framework where neighbors can help other neighbors come disasters, and really get excited for this type of work. Second event is the next week, same place, same time, the 20th, June 20th, and it's our CWPP workshop. So that's really where we're inviting the public to give us feedback on priorities they would like to see completed through our planning document, which will be the CWP, the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. So come with more, it's more community to government at that second event. And then the first event's really community to community, neighbors to neighbors. Happy to answer any questions you have, but hope to see you folks there. It's on our social media and also information available on our website.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Evan. Any comments from the table?
What time is the event tomorrow? I missed it. I'm
6 p.m.
6 p.m. I will be there.
Yeah.
Wait, yes, I'll be there.
Fantastic. Look forward to seeing you there.
Like I just rolled down the hill.
Yeah, I can walk.
No, great work, Evan. Very exciting. Looking forward to kicking off. This is going to be the first of many, many meetings, but very exciting. And I'll be there as well.
Definitely. Thank you. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Evan.
Great. Thanks a lot, Evan. All right, moving right along to public comment. Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address the City Council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The council cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note the comments from the public will also be taken on the consent calendar and each agenda item at the time it is heard. Okay, do we have any public comment on non-agendized items? Come on up.
Hi, my name's Don Fraser. I live on Zion Street in Nevada City. By the way, could we entertain the idea of maybe changing that name someday? The U.S. government has spent in excess of $14 billion helping the state of Israel destroy Gaza, kill over 35,000 Palestinians at a minimum, of which 15,000 are children at a minimum. Think about that. A year ago, could you have imagined that some dude you never heard of before would be standing in front of you saying that? A year ago, could you have imagined that this random guy would be asking you to pass a resolution asking the U.S. government to refrain from supporting an ongoing genocide? Could you have imagined that this guy would be pointing out to you that in Gaza, there are more children who are amputees than any place on earth? that after 8 months of people crying, begging, beseeching, leaving in despair, that even discussing this, ongoing support for the wanton killing and destruction of a people is not even on your agenda. Could you have imagined?
Thank you, Don.
Hi, my name is Liz, and I'm a Nevada County resident. Last week, Israel used aid trucks to enter a camp in Gaza where refugees were seeking shelter. Except that those aid trucks were not actually aid trucks. It was a decoy to smuggle Israeli soldiers in so that they could murder over 270 civilians, mostly women and children, kill 3 of their own Israeli hostages, and injure over 500 people, all to save 4 hostages that could have been released with a ceasefire deal. And they're calling this a win, by the way. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a loss to me. And it also sounds like war crimes. Every single city should be speaking up at this point. The bombs being dropped in Rafah safe zones are coming out of California. The safe zone that was bombed a few weeks ago, where a 1.5-year-old little boy was beheaded in front of his 13-year-old brother and families were burned alive in their tents, the serial numbers on those bombs were traced back to Santa Clarita, California. Over 15,000 children have been slaughtered, 20,000 have been orphaned. Right now, Gaza has the highest number of pediatric amputees in history. Many of them are having amputations done with nothing more than ibuprofen. I am a mother of 4. I have been a foster parent to multiple children. I have worked with special needs children for years, and I am in school full-time so that I can pursue a career helping at-risk children in my community. I love children more than I love breathing, and although I do not have the bandwidth to see what I've been seeing for the last 8 months, I continue to watch because I believe it is my responsibility to bear witness, because their lives meant something, because their trauma means something. And if this was happening here, I would be begging the world not to look away. I still believe, in spite of everything that this country has done, even to my own people, that we can be better. I still have hope. But there is no way that we can be better unless we hold our leaders accountable and demand better of them. I know you guys are trying to make a public conversation a thing, and I appreciate the time and effort that you put into this. But at this point, I think we all know that this has gone on way too long. Too many innocent lives have been lost. And I think that most of you know that this is the right thing to do. This isn't about your feelings or you. This is not about me or my feelings. This is about doing the right thing. Real families and children are being slaughtered with American-made bombs funded with American tax dollars. We have the privilege and the responsibility of speaking on behalf of the children in Gaza. Your voices matter, and you never know who or what you may inspire by using those voices. Over 2/3 of all U.S. voters across the political spectrum support a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. So please, I'll ask you again to please put a ceasefire resolution on the agenda. Demand better, call for a ceasefire. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Loud and clear? Good. My name is Judith Lowry. I've lived in Nevada City, in the Nevada City neighborhood for close to 30 years. When I arrived here many years ago, I saw something was seriously wrong with your tribal issues. Because I am Maidu, Pitt River, Washoe. Remember, Native people knew the value of having more than one branch on their family tree, so just keep that in mind. I only have 3 minutes here, and snowball's chance in hell of getting on your agenda, so I'm going to make it quick. With what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen. What has happened is, and we're in the middle of it, a hostile takeover of the true Nisenan of this community. The Kelly Enos clan, Chief Kelly's descendants. Tribal identity theft by Frankenchirp, which is the organization that I founded. Quit it. Stop. I founded and funded for 10 years. I know the coverts. Brad and I do know the coverts. Go ahead and ride with them. We're not riding with you anymore. In almost 30 years, Don Ryberg and the Sayacom Corporation have tried to take over this county so he could game. The coverts told me years ago when they came to me for help that he had promised them a casino, so they voted him in as their chairman, and then he betrayed them by trying to disenchant all of them, take them out of the tribes, disenroll, get rid of them. And now what is happening is I'm in Susanville, California, my hometown, and I'm talking to the Mountain Maidu Summit Consortium. And these are the people that have eyes on your money. Okay? Don Ryberg has kind of built a tunnel, or a flume, you might call it, to bring your money up to us in Plumas County, and we're waiting for it. Thank you. Okay. The meeting, I met this week, I came down to meet with the CIHC, that's the California Indian Heritage Center that's to be built in Sacramento. I've been part of those talks for 30 years. I reported on your community and what you're doing to Chief Kelly's family, the descendants. This is in your history. What's happening now also is that the History Center is working with Kappa Enos. Your mayor is fully funding and behind the chirp that's now Franken-Chirp. She's supporting everything that the coverts are doing to try to wipe out Chief Kelly's family. And I'm not having it. So what's happening now is that I've left this county. I'm working in my hometown, Lassen County, and we're forming up Lassen County Chirp, then there's going to be Plumas County Chirp, and then there's going to be Modoc County Chirp. This is where it's going to take us, because the whole thing originally wasn't something where, say, a small town city mayor could secure a future in tribal government. You know, that's a six-figure salary. And we've had this before. I have 1 second.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye, you, you're on your way out.
Enjoy Susanville.
Yeah. You're on your way out.
Actually, you're on your way out. Goodbye.
Tell me what that's about at some point.
What's that?
You're gonna have to tell me what that's about at some
Oh,
point.
sure.
Not now. Not now.
Not
Some
now,
other
right.
time. Yeah.
It's hard to sit up here and not comment on lies. It really, really, really is. I think that's the hardest part of this job.
Just let it go. Just let it go.
I know what's next. Thank you.
Okay, just help it. Or not.
I'm going to take a 3-minute recess. Thank you. Sorry, guys.
No problem. Take
I needed to take a breath. We're moving right along to the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Before we take action on the consent calendar, we will hear any public comment on consent calendar items only. Do we have any public comment on consent items?
I feel like we don't.
All right, now I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
A second.
Great, we have a motion by Councilmember Cecil, a second by Councilmember Klein. Any objections to the motion? All right, I'm not hearing any, so motion carries. Moving right along to a public hearing. Item number 10. Conduct a public hearing on the city's first year 2024-2025 proposed annual budget by a list of things, starting with consideration of resolution number 2024-18, a resolution of the Nevada City Council of the City of Nevada City adopting fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. I'm sorry, what? Oh, it's hard to read when people are talking.
Mayor, is your mic on?
No. Thank you. Consideration of resolution number 2024-19, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City adopting the 5-year capital improvement program, 2024 through 2029, and consideration of resolution number 2024-20, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City adopting the fiscal year 2024-2025 citywide classification and compensation plan, and consideration of resolution number 2024-21, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City adopting the fiscal year 2024-2025 citywide master fee schedule, and finally, consideration of resolution number 2024-22, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City certifying compliance with the 2023 to 2024 appropriations limitation and establishing the appropriation limitation for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, adopting the appropriations limit for fiscal year 2024-2025.
Nice job.
Right, goodness gracious, thank you, Dean. Hello, welcome, Brittany, welcome, Steve. I'm sure you have a wonderful presentation for us.
I will kick us off, Madam Mayor. Hopefully by the time we get to the end and there's a motion, it could just be a motion to adopt naming the resolution numbers and not having to read out all of those since you already did that. Appreciate that. We're before you again for budget adoption and related items. I'm pleased that we're on solid footing. We will always be revenue constrained, being one of the smallest full-service cities in California, or probably west of the Mississippi. But we're doing our best to, optimize our revenues and utilize those in a way that really translates those funds into the best services that we can provide for the community. We take a very conservative approach to budgeting. In other words, what we're showing you tonight, what Steve and Brittany are going to present, it looks at revenues at not a worst case scenario, but that is what we anticipate receiving. It's not a hope, it's not a guess. It really is where we anticipate the city to be, and our history is that we overproduce on revenue and our expenditures are less than those. And on the expenditure side, we budget full expenses for everything that is in the budget. So if we have an employee in there that is going to be here in the budget for 12 months, but we don't hire them for 2 months in, we don't short ourselves by only budgeting for 10 months of employment, because that means next year we got to find the gap to continue the employment of that person. So really appreciate the entire team here. It's a small but very effective team at keeping to our budget. It will be much easier for our staff when the new finance software comes online. That will also mean more transparency to the community as we look to have forward-facing pictures of our budget in near real time, so that people could see on our website where our expenditures are, where our revenues are coming from. The lion's share of the work, of course, is always done by the people that rarely get the credit. In this case, it's Steve and Brittany. So Brittany is learning, but doing as she is learning. So I don't think she has a tremendously large speaking role tonight, but she, but don't take the lack of words for a lack of work, because it's definitely a lot of work behind the scenes there. So with that, I will hand it over to Steve. This will look much like your budget workshop. We're essentially in the same position, other than we've refined some numbers. Largely, we've accounted for some additional revenues, but otherwise it will look very similar. Steve, take it away.
Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. Before you this evening is our fiscal year 24-25 operating budget and capital improvement program. So most of these slides you saw during our budget workshop on May 1st, so I'm not going to belabor a lot of what we went over then. But here's a new slide. These are total budgeted revenues versus total budgeted expenses. So that's all funds citywide. And as you can see, we're trending a little better. And a lot of this has to do also with the timing of grant revenues, so grant reimbursements for expenditures the city has already made in the past. Here's a general fund overview. Again, general fund revenues are exceeding general fund expenses. So the operating budget is balanced in and balanced better. And this also includes fiscal year 23-24 capital projects that were not completed during 23-24 that are being rebudgeted or reappropriated in the upcoming 24-25 fiscal year. So we did have some adjustments subsequent to the budget workshop, all of which are good. We were notified that we're receiving a workers' comp refund of approximately $92,000. So that's one-time money. That's not ongoing or repeating revenue. And then gas tax estimates from the state are anticipated to increase nominally by about $8,000. And then again, I just wanted to point out that we're reappropriating the general fund CIP for this year that wasn't spent, that rolls into fund balance. We're reappropriating that again. So just a quick refresher, property tax is estimated to increase by about 2%. In fiscal year 24-25, as well as your property tax in lieu of VLF revenues. Those usually track same. Unfortunately, our third-party sales tax consultant believes that our sales tax revenue is going to decline by about 2.2%, but that's kind of happening statewide, so that's not unique to Nevada City. And then our TOT, transient occupancy tax, also called room tax, we're holding flat, but we're trending very well this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if maybe come mid-year budget for fiscal year 24-25, we might have a slight bump, but TOT is doing very well. So expenditures in general, our utility and fuel costs are up, cost of materials are up, a lot of our service contracts for IT, LAFCO, dispatch, animal shelter, everything's up this year pretty much. We do have a 3% escalator in our fire services contract. That becomes effective October of this coming year. Personnel, there's a 4% COLA built into the MOUs with all the bargaining units. That's effective July 1st. And then we have a 10.9% increase in our CalPERS UIL payment. However, we can save 5% if we prepay that rather than paying it out on a monthly basis. And historically, we have prepaid. And then other expenditures are expected to remain relatively flat based upon the activity that's going on in the city, because that's all variable. Our general fund reserves, your revenue reserve is about 1.15 million. Employee benefit reserve, 250. Our capital improvement reserve is about 100 grand. Vehicle and equipment replacement reserve is about 150,000. Our litigation reserve is 120 grand, and our community fund reserve is 28,000, which is just based on the general fund piece. This is all general fund. So any other funding sources are not factored into these reserves here.
If I could stay there for a second, Steve. The Vice Mayor had questions about this in the workshop, and we led off with it. We didn't have a slide, so for those that maybe weren't at the workshop that are watching at home or will watch this back later, Those are our general fund reserve accounts. Just recapping real quickly, the revenue reserve fund, that 1.15 million is what commonly referred to as a rainy day fund. It's for something significant happens and you don't have the money that you anticipated. We don't budget that way, so that would, you know, we've lived through fires and floods and COVID and a variety of other things, and we intend to keep this, but it is there for that reason. The Employee Benefit Reserve anticipates that every employee that works for us retires and takes with them their cash out of their vacation balances. We don't anticipate that ever happening either, but that is fully funded. The Capital Improvement Reserve is a very small amount of money, and it's we're a small city, so if we had an extra $1 million, we'd probably put it into a project instead of putting it into this fund. But if we have that extra $1 million, we'll certainly come to you with your thoughts. Vehicle equipment replacement, as we discussed, was we have a funding mechanism to replace police vehicles. And then we use the general fund to replace the rest of our fleet. That is represented in the CIP that we'll go over in detail in a little bit, but that also includes a plan for electrification of our fleet over the next 10 years. And this replacement reserve then, because we have funding for all of our vehicles, essentially amounts to the replacement of a fire engine. We're eventually going to need to replace a fire engine. We would intend to do that by debt services, in other words, a loan. And this would be the first year's payment on that loan. So essentially that first year, the budget wouldn't be hit. We wouldn't be short $150,000 for that fire engine replacement. Litigation reserve is exactly what it sounds like. And that community fund is what you'll see in the budget under the city manager's budget is that's the money that the council appropriates to go to other entities. That's how we sponsor the Nevada City Film Festival that's coming up, for example, or other things, other activities that we do for the community. This protects that. Should we have a shortfall, we would still be able to make our promises that or keep our promises that you've already made in any fiscal year. So I know the council knows these, but those were created 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago when I got here, and we funded them for these purposes, and we'll continue to revisit them as we go. We're not adding, but we're not detracting from our reserve, and we don't intend to have any reserve fund spending in this budget year, or actually any future budget year unless you ask me to.
So as noted, we do have some personnel changes. Neil Locke is his term as city clerk ends June 30th, and we wish Neil all of our best and thank you for his service. General administration, we're going to add a deputy/assistant city manager. And in doing so, we're going to remove an admin services technician position that really isn't needed at this point. We're also adding a community development technician and removing a contract engineer. So those basically are going to net out to zero, or even some cost savings there. And in water wastewater, we're going to add a lead operator and remove an operator 2 to kind of start succession planning, so to speak, if you will. And then we're also in our new Office of Emergency Services, which is currently under City Manager at this point. We're adding an OES specialist, and on top of that, adding 1 maintenance worker 2 and 2 maintenance worker 1s using Measure C and grant dollars to fund those positions. So in terms of the citywide master fee schedule, your first comprehensive one was adopted in fiscal year 22-23 and has been amended several times since then, with either additional fees or the updating of fees as they become stale, so to speak. We do have recommended fee updates for fiscal year 24-25. Most fees needing updating we're asking for a 3.5% increase, which is actually less than our actual cost to provide these services. The exception here, though, are water and wastewater connection fees. It's been about 35 years since those have increased. And an assessment finds that at least our fees are 10 times lower than comparable cities. Wow. However, right now, staff recommends doubling those fees in 24-25. However, we are in the midst of a fee study or rate study at this point. And once that concludes, we will be bringing that to the City Council for consideration.
Oh, boy.
So just because you do something for a really long time, it doesn't mean that you should always do it or that it's the best thing, right? Got it.
And along those lines, that was one of the fees that was hard coded into our municipal code. In other words, it said the dollar amount and it didn't say that it could ever be changed. In January of 2023, we did a review of the ordinances that had that language and updated it to what all of our other fees say, which is fees that aren't taxes voted on by the electorate, to say that adopted by resolution of the council. We didn't change them at the time. We just made that change in the ordinances. This reflects that change now. This only applies to new construction. This isn't going to be a fee that people that use water or, use our water, use our sewer are going to get charged. Only if you're building something new. And if you're building an ADU, that's attaching to your existing water and sewer, so you're not going to get charged these either. So this is only a new water or new sewer connection to our system. And even at the doubling here, our all-in fees are still less than potentially your water connection fee might be if you're not served by our water. So we're still well under our cost, but we need to do something to incrementally increase this. So this is, even though it's a doubling, it's a pretty measured approach until we get the fee studies done and bring back to you the updated rate recommendations.
Timeline on the fee schedule?
So we got a grant for it. They're near completion, Brian, on the water, wastewater rate studies.
They've been working with Steve and I on the capital improvement plan. I'm not exactly sure the timeline.
So we'll get you the timeline back, but they've been working on it for a little while. It's a partnership grant with a third party that does this on our behalf and the water board for water and wastewater, and we'll have some options that hopefully will make the process more palatable for our customers, because the number one complaint about our system, it has nothing to do with the water or wastewater. It has everything to do with, why does my water use in January cause my bill to go up in July?
Right.
So we'll have options for the council to consider in that regard.
A year from July.
I get asked that at least once a month. Wow, several times.
All right, as part of this budget package as well is the fiscal year 24-25 appropriations limit, also known as the GAN limit. And it's required to be adopted by cities every single year. So just a little background, it was adopted by California voters in November of 1979 with the intention of providing control of government spending and taxation. So city appropriations can increase annually. So the appropriation limit calculation, just high level, is prior year limit adjusted by a factor. That factor being change in population multiplied by either a change in CPI or the change in the per capita cost of living index. So the state code allows either one of those factors to be used in combination. So City of Nevada City this year is using the population percentage change factor of 0.09%. That number comes directly from the State Department of Finance. The county decrease was larger, so it was in our best interest to use our own population, because you can choose the county or your city population change, whichever one is more favorable to you. And then we're also using the change in per capita cost of living of 3.32%. As such, our appropriations limit applicable to the city for fiscal year 24-25 is slightly over 6.4 million, which is well under our taxes and the things that are excluded from the tax revenues we bring in. So we're not in any danger of exceeding that, is the bottom line.
The state says we have 3,347 people now as of January 1 this year.
How much was it, 3,000?
3,347, a 0.09% decrease. Not really sure how you do 0.09%.
Of which 30 are homeless.
There's just one arm laying out there.
Did you guys get the email?
So the new Measure C that was passed in March of this year, we're anticipating, since we don't really have an experience rate yet with this tax, We're anticipating conservatively we'll receive about $625,000 in revenue for that. That revenue is going to be used again to fund the OES, and here's here's the breakdown of what those revenues are going to be appropriated towards. I don't want to belabor it, but you can see that on the screen there. So most of OES.
This will all be running through the Fire Safety Advisory Committee, working with OES and Evan, who left. But kudos to him, as some of these are purchases, but most of these are programs. So they'll run through the Fire Safety Advisory Committee for recommendations on how to create and implement the programs. We'll bring them to the council to adopt them if necessary. Some of them won't need to come to the council, and then we'll get them out on the street. Those are, while the bottom number is the number we're budgeting for, we likely will have recommendations from the Fire Safety Advisory Committee to move monies within lines, because maybe one line that's 50,000 only needed 42 for the program that they supported, and another line needed that 8,000 in addition. That would be a simplistic version, but so this is it's not a specific line item budget, but all of these dollars are in the line items for the department, either in personnel or services and supplies or contract services and the like.
And that list up there came out of the wording of Measure C directly, right?
Yes, it's out of the wording of Measure C, with the exception of Measure C anticipates a $925,000 annual once it gets rolling, once we get into the next year. And so this is not exactly a percentage by percentage, because some of those things we know we'll need on the front end and some of them we didn't, but it's very close to that.
But to be clear, this is not a full year's representation.
This represents 90% of 3/4 of a full year. So we anticipate we'll receive 3/4 of tax submissions, but because it's a new tax, we don't want to say we're going to get all of it, so we're only budgeting for 90% of that. If we get more, we'll bring more programs to the community for Safer from Wildfire practices.
So again, a brief format overview of the proposed operating budget. So just general information like demographics, glossary of budget terms, just high-level information that the general public can access before they get into the meat and potatoes of the budget. We also have financial summaries in there, so changes in fund balance, revenues, expenditures. Our first year of our 5-year CIP program is also in the budget here. And with that, that leads us into the our first year, graphically speaking, of our CIP program. So that totals a little above 7.7 million, with most of the money, about 69% of those appropriations, being programmed towards roads, streets, and sidewalks. But as you can see, it's kind of sprinkled out through everything else: water, wastewater, parks, etc. So with that, again, we have our 5-year CIP format and program. So this is the second year in which you're seeing this format. So again, there's general information about the city and sources and uses of funds. We break out your CIP by function, by funding. And then we have detail sheets. So any project you may have an interest in, whether it's currently in the works or in the future, possibly, you'll see pictures, and
We actually have color coded.
because everything color coded, percent status of where it is, things like that. So just a really nice tool for the general public to understand what we are doing and what we plan on doing, maybe at some point.
And then as we progress with the new website, which will come online in next fiscal year, the new finance software, which will come online in the coming fiscal year as well, and then the integration of those two. One of the things that we'll look to do when I spoke about transparency and forward facing on our website where people could see our budgets, would also look to have storyboards for the active projects, so the things that are moving along. So you'd have this sheet, but then you'd also have locations and pictures and mapping and detail that so people could see how the progress or how the project progressed, and probably occasionally point our cameras at them if they're of interest. But so while that's really neat, it all starts with this document. And so, like Steve said, this is the second year that the city's had a comprehensive capital improvement program, and we definitely seek to improve it. But this base document is essential because it connects our budget to the programs and the projects that Brian is delivering from Public Works and an engineering perspective. And that connection is, as Gary well knows, that the lack of that connection is where problems really happen. So this is really, for me, it's beautiful to see. If you love it, it's full credit to Steve. If you don't like something on it, let us know and we'll make the improvements.
And then within the 5-year CIP, we also have our rolling stock replacement program that Sean alluded to earlier, and our deferred capital maintenance items, and then, of course, a glossary of CIP-related terms. So here's a summary of our 5-year or new 5-year CIP projects that are proposed at some point in the next 5 years. So undergrounding Zion Street, Seven Hills Park, the Narrow Gauge Railroad Museum, and then quite a few water and wastewater treatment plant projects are being proposed. And Brian and our third-party grant consultant are looking into obtaining grants to help fund quite a few of these because they are kind of costly. So one of the things that Brittany and I would like to do is to complement your 5-year CIP is to give you a 5-year revenue and expense forecast as well, where we could hopefully try to read those tea leaves and tell you where we might end up in year 2, year 3, et cetera.
Lots of tea leaves tonight.
So,
No, previous thing.
so that's something that Brittany and I would like to present to you at some point here. So with that, we ask that you would adopt the resolutions that you read off earlier, Madam Mayor, and we're available to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll open it up to public comment. I'm not sure we have any in the room.
Stuart.
And then we'll bring it back to the table for questions and comments. Yes, Gary, jump right in, please.
Well, I try not to be excessively effusive about the budget. Again, I love this budget. It's a beautiful budget. I think I just wanted to, I saw a lot at the workshop, but a couple of things I want to point to that I think are really important. One is the creative way in which working together with finance staff and the city manager, that we're able to allocate positions to create an organization more designed for the functionality of the organization without increasing costs tremendously. Also, in the way that we're building career ladders and supporting the advancement of our key employees in the organization. And I think that's a really critical piece of this budget. And it's innovative and it's creative and I think very effective. So I think that's really good. One of the other things I want to point to is that doesn't get talked a lot about budgets, but I was going through it again today, and a budget it frequently is a snapshot in time, but a really good budget starts to show you where you're going, that it also moves through time. And when you start to compare comparison costs in the past years, and with the forecasting that you want to do is the absolute complement to that, because you do need to know where you are right now, July 1st, what we're starting with. But at the same time, every one of those CIP sheets has a year. This is where we're spending the money. This is where we got to get the money in this year to advance this project. So this budget does an excellent job of demonstrating forward progress and showing where and when the demands will be made, which are critical to setting priorities and figure out how to fund them, particularly our capital projects, which are sometimes extremely expensive and last over several years. So this budget does just a wonderful job of showing that movement, and I think that's really important. CIP budget is just, I love it. I love it. Color coded too. And then finally, I just have one final comment. I just wanted to go, and because I really like the key projects and future initiatives piece. I like that we evaluate the work that has been done. This is what we did, accomplishments. We weren't just sitting around. Anybody who wants to know can go see what we've actually done. But you can also see what we're looking forward to and what's happening. So I'm really fascinated to, like, for example, in the Office of Emergency Services, one of the top 3 key projects is, coordination with the Fire Safety Advisory Committee to apply to grant funding to implement the Deer Creek Hazardous Fuels Project. Wow, it's right there. And this
People should take note.
And people should take note, and it's in the budget, and it's as a priority. So, but it allows us to show those priorities and where we want to go, not just where we've come from, what we've accomplished, which is really important, but always showing where we're going, always looking ahead. So I think this budget is really excellent at demonstrating that forward motion, and also taking credit for the enormous amount of work that staff does that just doesn't get seen by anybody. And that day in and day out, how this city is turned around and is moving so well into the future. With that, thank you.
Well said, Gary. Thank you. Lou?
I noticed in the budget for the city attorney's office that we are possibly pursuing becoming a charter city. Is that correct?
So that is totally up to the council. It's both in the city attorney's future initiatives or objectives, as well as the council's. So in the council's, it says by June 30th, 2025, after presentation from the city attorney and the city manager, provide direction on whether or not Nevada City should implement a process to establish a voter-approved city charter. So we are a general law city, distinguished from a charter city or town. Town and city are the same thing. You get to choose which one you want, but they mean exactly the same. They mean you're a municipal corporation. Truckee and Grass Valley are both charter city and town, respectively. And that does not in any way mean you need to be, but there are potential advantages to the future local control of the city that would be afforded to a charter city that wouldn't be afforded to a general law city. So certainly something that we want to bring to the council's attention so that you can provide us the direction on, should this be something we invest time in to bring more detail to you? And then eventually, should this be something that you would like to take to the voters? Because ultimately the creation of a charter is a voter initiative.
Cool. You said the important words to me, local control. And I look forward to discussing the merits of that. I'm all in favor of it, as you probably know.
Thank you, Lou. Phyllis to my right.
You guys spent a lot of time on this, huh? Seemed that way. We just get to kind of read and learn from your hard work and everything. My question for the 3 of you, Brittany, Stephen, and Sean, is everything looks really good. Looks like we're in a good place. Were there any red flags that you could see maybe for the future, something that the 5 of us should keep our eyes on in terms of like, oh, this isn't as strong as it should be, that sort of thing? Are there any areas that we should just be alert towards?
I wouldn't say red flags, but I would advise that, you should always keep up on your fees, because your costs are always going up.
Yeah.
Your personnel costs are always going up. And one of the reasons why we have the pool financial summary in the budget is to demonstrate, we're not even recovering 50% of our costs for pool services. That means those that don't use the city pool, as an example, but are residents of Nevada City, they're subsidizing that with, property tax revenues, what have you. And then, of course, not staying up on revenues. You tend to, when you do have to increase them at some point, your fees, it's a big bump usually, and the public gets upset. So Sean and the city council, you've been doing a great job doing that, staying on top of it. That's the only recommendation I would make, is just continue to keep doing what you're doing, because you're doing fantastic.
And not necessarily, definitely not red flag, but things that we are keeping our eyes on, and where the 5-year forecasting is important, is is in things like Measure F, which is our cannabis tax. So, provisions in Grass Valley is open. And so that's that potential impact on us is something that is, in our future. As we look to balance things like sales tax with the change in the way pooled sales tax is done, there's ability for large corporations to dramatically alter the way that's handled as far as what is a point of sale and what is not. Amazon has made tremendous changes in the marketplace throughout California in that regard, and others have followed suit. So just keeping our eyes on where those are going and adjusting accordingly. We don't have all of our eggs in one basket, but we only have a handful of baskets. So we need to, make sure that we're keeping that, in an equitable spot for our community, and the balance of, property taxes are paid by, people that own property here. Sales tax are paid, more than half of it's paid by people that don't live here. So there's, kind of that balancing act. But we have been and will continue to be very, I shouldn't say very, but just appropriately conservative in what we do as far as revenues, and as well as expenses. And that's why you don't see, we could have said, we're going to get all that Measure C money this year, we're going to hire all these people, and it would just, that's not a good way to do business, because the pendulum ends up swinging the other way eventually.
Right.
I look forward to that 5-year as well, and I think it will be very helpful for the council in future planning, because it's really easy to get lost in where you are right now. But when you're talking about almost any project, it's going to cover multiple years, right? I wish the skate park was going to get done by Christmas, but it's not. And so where we are, a year and a half, 2 years from now, will make a difference on what we can do with that skate park, just as an example. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Great job. I'm glad Brittany's shadowing and learning. This is a lot to learn. I wouldn't know where to start. So thank you for teaching and thank you for learning. I just think back to 4 years ago when we first started and looking at, our CIP. And, it is so much different now. And I do look at a few CIPs in my work. And so it's just really nice to see. I mean, that's, for me, that exemplifies the progress we've made in the budget, in the way we look at things, the way we communicate things to the public and to us. So it's really nice. But, we touched on something over there, and we only have a few buckets. It's, we have a few limited ways to raise money as a city. We have, our traditional revenue streams, but what are things that we can do that, everybody knows the tricks, but are there any things that we can do as a city to generate more revenue besides grants and the typical stuff that we're doing now? And I know Sean probably would have been on something if it was easy and low-hanging fruit, but, is there, we have expenses that we'd like to cover. So what can we do as a city? And I know this is sort of a kind of general, naive question, but you guys know cities, money.
I think for us, it's largely a matter of optimizing what we have and then expanding or enhancing the things that we don't put a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot of effort, but that we don't curate currently. So we're a tourism community, but we don't, even though Stuart's in the room and does a lot about tourism, we don't have a lot of effort in that regard. And so between ecotourism, cannabis tourism, Gold Country tourism, historical tourism, there's opportunities to work with our businesses to develop and enhance that, right? So that you get multiple revenue streams from, right? If you increase your TOT by 10%, you're going to increase your sales tax by 10% as well, because the people that are staying here will eat here and shop here. And so, keeping all of those rooms full and finding ways to keep our businesses afloat and solvent and happy and in Nevada City in the uniquely eclectic way that they are, I think is our biggest opportunity, and has the biggest upside, because it costs not a tremendous amount of money to invest in those businesses and in expanding what we do with tourism compared to the return on investment. We're never going to be Grass Valley as far as revenue generation goes, but there is opportunity to do better.
And so what I think I also heard you say is it's basically optimizing our revenue streams now, like for instance, our fees. And that's something you guys took a look at and we said, okay, and the pool, there may be other reasons why we subsidize that so much, and I think there are legitimate ones for the pool, but there's other areas where we're not. I mean, Sean came in and immediately said, you're not covering your expenses here, here, and here. We got people renting out houses, making money off our backs, So I really think that, with your guys' eyes on the prize, that, we have an ability to squeeze every dollar out of our revenue streams, and also work with Stewart in the chamber. That's what I'm hearing, is that we need to work more with Stewart to get, those tourists here and get them to spend all their money and fill every room, and, and that's happening. So, Stewart?
And fill every house.
We're meeting with Grass Valley and the Arts Council on Friday.
Stuart, will you come to the microphone, please?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. No reason to be sorry.
I just thought I'd add this in. On Friday, we're meeting with the Arts Council and the Grass Valley Chamber, looking at experiences as a concept for people to come to Nevada City and the surrounding area to do things like herb crafting and yoga retreats and things like that, because we find a lot of folks who come to Nevada City want to take a part of the lifestyle that we all kind of take for granted and just, and go with it. So that's the direction that we'd like to see. At one point I had hoped we could get a T-bid together and fund that type of outreach, have a special website about like Nevada City experiences. And, that's adventurous and ambitious, and hopefully at some point we will have that. But anyway.
Love that. Thank you, Stuart.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for all your work. This is, again, it's just easy for us to digest this stuff, and it makes sense, and we can explain it to the citizenry, so thank you for making our jobs easier.
Yeah, great questions. I don't have any other questions, just gratitude to the two of you for your work. And like Doug said and Gary said, for making it so accessible and just, us being able to understand it. I remember the first time I looked at our budget, and I think it was written on Microsoft, like Office 98, Microsoft Word, like I was like Windows 98. Maybe it was like printed out from a word processor. It felt like that. It had that feel. So
True.
I'm gonna keep going. Like the paper with the holes on the side where you like rip them
Tractor.
off. That's what it is in my memory. So thank you for making our budget not historic in this historic town. All right, I would like a motion to adopt all resolutions that I've already read.
I move that we adopt all the resolutions associated 2024-22, -21, -20, -19, -18 associated with the budget, this year's budget for 2024-25 proposed annual budget.
Well
Dean
done.
has something.
Yes, sir?
Oh, no, I was saying thank you.
Oh, yeah, I knew we had it. Can I get a second on that?
I'll second.
Motion. Excellent. Gabby, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Stacy?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
And Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Steve, Brittany,
enormous amount of
Sean,
work.
thank
They're
you.
not going anywhere.
Stick around.
See him moving.
Oh, yes, the tax thing. Now it's the real
All
revenue
right,
thing.
number 11. Consideration of resolution number 2024-23, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City requesting the Nevada County Auditor, Controller, and Tax Collector to collect Nevada City's 2002 Special Tax Measure K for fiscal year 2024-2025, and resolution number 2024-24, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City requesting the Nevada County Auditor, Control, and Tax Collector to collect Nevada City Special Tax 1986 for fiscal year 2024-2025. Who's going to take this one away?
Nice work.
I'll do that, Honorable Mayor.
I'm on my way out.
I know, you're perfect.
We always get perfect by the time.
So thank you for reading those. I appreciate it. What I really would just like to add is that, again, the county collects these on our behalf. They do take a small admin fee to do so. And these resolutions have to be adopted annually in order for these taxes to be collected. Generally speaking, we have to have all the data in by before July 1st for it to end up on the rolls. With that, Madam Mayor, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Wow, short and sweet. Thank you so much. Any public comment in the room? Not seeing any. Okay, coming back to the table. Questions, comments, concerns? I don't see anything on this side.
See my previous comment. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolutions.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Excellent. Gabby, roll call, please.
Councilmember Cece?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Of course.
Vice Mayor Peterson?
Yes.
And Mayor Fernandez?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Excellent. All right, still sticking around, I see. Number 12, consideration of resolution number 2024-25, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nevada City requesting the Nevada County Board of Supervisors to authorize the County Auditor, Controller, and the County Tax Collector to levy and collect delinquent sewer and/or water service charges against certain properties within the City of Nevada City. All right.
Thank you again, Honorable Mayor. So Health and Safety Code Section 5473 authorizes the city to place these delinquent sewer and/or water service charges on the tax rolls, and that requires a 2/3 vote of the city's legislative body. The county's distribution of tax revenues is non-teetered for fiscal year 24-25, and the city will receive payment on these delinquent sewer and/or water bills that are placed on the tax roll, even if the property owner does not pay the tax bill. So we'll get that revenue. I wanted to point that out. City staff, primarily Tanya and Brittany, reached out to those that were delinquent in advance so they didn't end up on this list. And we did get quite a great return.
Great.
So the amount that we are reporting as delinquent to the county this year is $23,446, which is about $30,000 less than the amount we had to send over last year.
Wow.
So we did get a great response, but again, that's due to the efforts of Tanya and Brittany. I thank them.
Many thanks.
And Donna as well. Yes, thank you. And with that, that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any public comment in the room? Okay, and back to the table. Adam, what you got?
What was I'm just curious. The folks that was everyone spoken to? Was everyone that's on this list?
If they weren't spoken to on the phone, then we sent them a certified letter notifying them, and then they reached out to us.
And then a lot of folks went ahead and paid what they owed and were taken off the list. The folks who are still on the list, were there? Did they have conflicts? Did they take issue with being asked to pay this at all?
Some don't respond at all. Some are homeowners that have tenants and they're just being notified of it, and so then they get that taken care of immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is the post office.
The post office was one of them.
SPD.
And the post office is
SPD 's
privately
the
owned.
Property, yeah, SPD is the property owner. However, it was a tenant that was in that space.
Wow.
Okay.
And
Are
even
we
if
all
you,
caught up at the Stonehouse?
So it's paid, obviously.
yes, and even if you approve this tonight, there's still a long runway. we'll submit this to the county, and then there's still a period after we submit it before it would actually go on the tax rolls. Anytime interceding there, if they submitted it to us, we could retract it from the county. So that you doing it tonight doesn't immediately put on the tax rolls, or, we can still work with folks and want to work with them, so it doesn't go that way.
That's great. And you said $23,000. How, did you say how many properties that is? Just out of curiosity.
Small number. Yeah.
It's on the,
About 30.
About 30, 25, 30.
It's about 25. A lot less than what we had last year.
So if a person's sitting on this council recognized any of those names, would it be worth texting them and saying, are you aware of this?
Absolutely. We do, the last thing we want to do is submit any kind of list to the county.
Okay.
Anyway.
If they
So
get our
purely
money.
hypothetical.
We'd like to keep as much of our money as possible.
So when you say putting it on the tax rolls, that means that the state of California will take it out of their tax return?
Property tax.
Property tax. Oh, their property tax. So it just gets tacked onto their property tax.
Yes.
And what happens if they don't pay their property tax?
Well, we still receive our money. The property owner has to deal with the county.
Or we'll send Tanya and Brittany to their house. You've obviously been good at collecting.
we do that sometimes because we can walk across the street and say, "Hey," that's that. When Steve said teeter, that's a reference to the legislation that allows the county to do that. So under the teeter program, essentially, they're gonna give us the money. They're responsible then for collecting it on the back end. That's why they charge us that, what I believe is a nominal fee, because ultimately it's possible that someone could not pay for a long time, and you get years down the road and they have to do a tax sale or property, and they might not even get their money back sometimes. So.
And council, I would actually recommend that you as the executive legislative body refrain from contacting individuals in this instance, because there are appeal options and other issues that you may sit as a body that you do not need to have that contact, and let that be handled by staff is my recommendation from my perspective.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dean.
Sean, you mentioned that we pay them a fee. Does that mean we actually get a little bit less than if they had directly paid us?
Yes. We get less from the county than had the customer directly paid us.
But otherwise, we'd spend staff time doing it or have to go to a collection agency to do it. So,
Correct.
I think it's a lot.
It's the least expensive way to go after your 10%, 5%, that's always going to be there.
We're going to get more than 95% return on this collections. We would get maybe 10 cents on the dollar often on these kind of collection accounts. And no guarantee that you would ever get it.
All right. I am looking for a motion to adopt the resolution.
I move we adopt the resolution, sorry.
And I'll second that.
Excellent. Gabby, roll call, please.
Councilmember Susie?
Yes.
Councilmember Klein?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes. Wait a minute.
I wasn't looking at you guys, I apologize.
Huh?
You got the motion.
Vice
got
Mayor
the
Peterson, aye.
I mean, I don't get to be mayor?
Mayor Fernandez?
Yes. I'll say yes anyway.
Councilmember Fleming? That was all wonky, sorry.
Yes, yes.
All right. We had 5 yeses, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
That meets the requirement, right?
What's that?
Excellent.
That meets
Thank you
the
both.
requirement.
Yes.
2/3, so.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I forgot to mention, what happened to the mustache? Mustache's gone, man.
Shaving when I was tired.
I had a close call today. I'm a little uneven.
Oh, yeah, that could happen.
All right.
Planter
Number
boxes.
13, consideration of approving a proposed Argyle Way planter box art project as recommended by the Nevada City Public Arts Commission, and approving the installation of Seven Hills signage as reviewed by Business Committee.
All right. So the real reason why Stuart's here tonight. So the Chamber of Commerce has been working with the Seven Hills business is to advance beautification initiatives in the area, and been involved in our vibrancy committee meetings, and then obviously our business committee members, council members CC and Klein, participate in the Seven Hills Merchant meetings where a lot of this was developed. There was an initial proposal to do some art projects on these planters that we'll talk about on Argyle Way. It was initially contemplated last year and then deferred, and essentially the Councilmember Klein and the general manager of the Onyx did a whole bunch of planting in the boxes, and then the art project was deferred until we got to a public arts commission. At the same time, the chamber has been working with the Seven Hills merchants and others for a new logo for Seven Hills. And so the previous logo, the one that still exists at Napa Auto Parts, formerly Reeby's, it looks a lot like, in 2024, looks a lot like clip art from the 1990s. And then the remnants of the signs on either side of the Cashins Fields project only have the number 7 left. Everything else is no longer on the sign. So it is a great time for an update. This has, as the mayor noted, bounced back and forth with our business committee and our vibrancy committee in pieces and parts. But the initial proposal came from Miriam Morris, local artist, always downtown doing cleanup work and loves everything planting, especially, native species. So she came up with this proposal relative to the planters on Argyle Way. There's 5 of them. Only 3 of them are part of the proposal. The 2 that are at the intersection of Argyle and Searles won't be part of this. They're much shorter. They don't really lend themselves well to this kind of application. And they're both adjacent to the Onyx Theater, which is going to be remodeled, expanded, and have a new mural placed on the end of it along Searles. So once that's all in, then I'm sure we'll come back with another request to do those 2 boxes. But so for tonight, it's just the 3 boxes further up Argyle Way there. Only one of them has water, so whatever we do with planting in them over time has to be something that is relatively hardy and will survive after the initial planting and watering phase. But what's proposed here is a relatively small art project. This is a quote from Miriam that she envisioned each planter having a different color scheme with the same color background. Her original color proposal was that came to the Public Arts Commission. It's been discussed with her, with Stewart and other businesses, and recommended that it transition to a color palette that matches the Seven Hills logo. Because we're putting up the signs at the same time, it might have some synergy there. So that is what we're recommending tonight. So a slight change from what the Public Arts Commission recommended. Essentially, these would be the community would create circular mosaic patterns from tile on fiberglass mesh, and then be installed directly on the well-cleaned concrete. If you've taken any kind of detailed look at that, you'll note that they were formed, poured, cured a little bit, and then they put the form on top of it and built the next layer and the next layer, and it looks like that. It's an unfinished, surface it's utilitarian, but it's certainly not pretty in any way. So this is a relatively low threshold for an art/beautification process. Miriam's suggestion is that the community would do this work at the farmer's market. There'd be an opportunity at a booth there where people could assemble this kind of tile mosaic, and then she would take those pieces and install them on the site there. As is proposed, the city will be paying for all of the materials and the cost in the installation, which is de minimis, but very appreciative of Miriam for the idea, the chamber for supporting it, and think it will match well with the signage. So as far as the sign goes, the chamber's proposing the installation of wayfinding signs for Seven Hills using the new logo. In this case, we're talking about staff would be placing 3 signs, probably 12 by 20, but we'll work through that rectangular that would have the new logo on there. They would be in right-of-way signage like you see your normal crosswalk signs and things like that. One near the bike shop Zion in Sacramento, one on the east side of Zion near Doane, which is essentially food and juice area there, and then another yet to be determined site. So those 3 signs would be paid for and installed by the city. And then the chamber is also proposing 3 private property installations, one at the site of potentially one at Zion and Ridge, which is the corner of Cashin's, where there was once a Seven Hills sign. There's still remnants of. Also, Searles and Ridge Gold Flat, that intersection there, where there it's also Cashin's property and also has a remnant of the metal 7 sign there. And then the last being the wooden intact Seven Hills District, Seven Hills Business District, now referred to as Seven Hills District, at the old Reeby's or the current Napa Auto Parts at Searles and Argall.
Could I add one thing, Sean? On that, we're requesting that we just cover over the oval that currently exists at that site at Reeby's, and also use wood. So we can kind of minimize the cost on that, and then we are going to the merchants to see who's willing to pay for it.
So there you go with that. So it's wood on that sign, which I think will be really cool. Probably metal signage at the other 2 sites, and it was metal before there as well. So those the Public Arts Commission did see the logos. They didn't approve it because it's not part of their art process, but they did see that as well. So the chamber would be taking on the fundraising for the 3 larger signs. The city would be taking up the expense and installation of the wayfinding signs that are in the right of way, because it's our property, and Brian's going to need to say it's okay for line of sight, and Shane's crew is going to have to install it. So that's the lion's share of the expense. We'll take that up. They're using funding that we've already accounted for in the budget relative to our citywide sign replacements. On a side note to that, we got the fluted sleeves that will go in the historical district that match the contours and the grooves that are on our gas lamps. So you won't look at these kind of ugly looking square boxes with holes in them that the signs will on. Those will be slide over the top, and there's a fleur-de-lis tip on the top of those. So you'll start to see those signs being installed in the historic district as we take these ones on. Overall, both the art project and the signs, I think, are small but highly visible steps towards, reimagining, re-envisioning, or just updating, the Seven Hills area. Definitely consistent with our vibrancy strategic initiative and our strategic plan. And we'd recommend that you approve both of them tonight. And obviously, I'll let Stuart share whatever else he would like on this. We're kind of the conduit of this. Thank you to the Vibrancy Committee and the Business Committee for taking this up, and the Chamber for really leading the effort. We're just presenting it here this evening.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple of things. Miriam is actually going to do at our next merchant meeting in Seven Hills, she'll do a session where people will do mosaics. So that'll add some ownership in there. And yeah, so Adam, you can partake. Aren't you excited? So yeah, that's the 25th, I believe, Tuesday, the last Tuesday of the month, and from 9 to 10. And so anyone else would like to join, it'll be artistic fun for all.
They're not allowed to.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It would be a Brown Act issue.
We could not talk about things.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, there you go. We'll put tape on your mouths. So
You would have to do that for me.
I'm good with not talking to you guys in public.
yeah.
You're so funny.
And let's see. So that's that. And then the other thing Sean didn't mention that we're also working on, just FYI for all of you, is, we have a map that's been done, and we took that to the Arts Commission just to get their ideas. And our big question with the map is including the tech center and how to best include it. Because if you include it to scale, it ends up being like, so far apart that you can't really have the map. So we're going to kind of do an Alaska-Hawaii thing, and it'll be off on the side. And so it'll have its own, presence on the map. And so that will be added. But that's the plan for the map. And we'd love to see it if SPD is willing, having it up there where you come in and at Cashin's Field and maybe at the Onyx or at Elevation. So those are the thoughts there with that.
That's great.
And then I guess the last final point on the signage, we discussed like, should it be welcome to Seven Hills on the sign? And the only thing everyone could agree on is not having anything. So it was either like, you know, Seven Hills welcomes you, and some people like that, and others like this, but everyone was okay with just, so you're just going to see the logo, and it's pretty clear. So.
And that includes the Seven Hills district under the, as part of
Right, and it won't say business district. I think you're all aware of that, right? Because that's the new concept. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
And there are 7 triangles
I did
in that
count-
picture. If you can't find them, we'll draw them.
So
I was just counting.
I was just going to say, I imagine people visiting Elevation and then spending a lot of time trying to decide if there's 7 hills in that logo or not.
I didn't get it first. It took me a couple times, and I was like, oh, there they are.
there you go.
So Stuart, I'm just going to ask, because I
Of course.
have to, if there's any public comment in the room.
Say something, Brian.
And since I'm not seeing anybody, then we'll come back to the table for our questions for Stuart, or Sean, or comments, or praise.
Just how wonderful to have something for Seven Hills, finally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, in a relative short time, this is great. Thanks to the Business Committee and the Vibrancy Committee for making this happen. You know, we started this just a couple of years ago, and here we have a sign, you know? I mean, that's for government, that's pretty quick. And we have an arts council.
Don't be dissing the government.
It's general speaking.
Being on the business committee, I'm sorry, I didn't.
And Vibrancy.
And Vibrancy.
Yeah, this is
I chuckled when you
Apologies
said this
for-
was pretty quick because it feels like we've been talking about this for a long time.
No, we haven't.
Apologies for not going to you and Lou and myself first, but
It's all right. I'm going to be so happy to see the signage up. I can't wait to see what Miriam cooks up. That's probably going to be great.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
been a
absolutely.
real process. I feel like it's worth mentioning the logo was designed by Rich Good.
Yes.
Did an outstanding job. He's designed a lot of things around this town, including the site of the National,
Yes.
your logo. Yeah.
The Onyx, I mean, the list is endless.
Yeah,
Was this the person who was honored at the chamber dinner?
No, that's Crew.
Crew.
Crew
That was
painted.
Crew
on
Your
it.
Crew
side.
painted, okay.
Yes.
Rich design.
Oh, wow.
And he's turning 50 on Monday. So there you go.
Ooh, wow, that's cool.
all right, Lou.
I think it's wonderful that there's going to be community participation in building the mosaic discs. That's the kind of buy-in that really makes people love the project.
Agree.
Yeah, I like the fact that you can go and do a little, you know, session at the farmer's market. I think that's brilliant, you know. Cheers to Miriam for doing all this work. And
Absolutely. Yes, we really appreciate her.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I was going to say how much I like this logo. I was like really surprised. I'm not like an angular kind of guy thing, you know, but this I really like this logo a lot. I think it's clear, it's colorful. I think it's really great. Lynn's Real Identity. I think this is a great project and just more progress, you know, more work. I think there's, again, one more illustration that our strategic efforts, we're starting to bear a lot of fruit from that. And this is wonderful. I think it's
It was interesting in the development of the logo. There was this camp of people that wanted it green because that's Nevada City, and then the other camp was like, everything is green here, so let's just no green, you know, or maybe just a little bit of green. And so that's where we ended up with the purple, which is kind of a little bit, you know, just different. So it's fun. So
And it matches your shirt.
Yes, there we go.
The purple had to be in there because it's my favorite color.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Totally.
Yeah, you and Prince, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I'm excited for the logo. I'm excited for, you know, Miriam's and the community's mosaics. I'm excited for, you know, yes, Gary, this speaks to our strategic initiatives. Absolutely. And I'm excited that Seven Hills is getting some of that,
Yes.
getting a little bit of love and a little bit of attention, because I do think that our downtown historic district gets most of the attention, and Seven Hills needs some love. And so this is an amazing start. This is an amazing start. And I think someone said it seems like a small start, but there are a few really big steps. So in that way, they seem pretty significant.
And we're really hoping with the Public Arts Commission, where there'll be more opportunities there than in the downtown for some artistic, and that's going to really create character and an environment that will further increase people's desire to be there. So.
Excellent. And yeah, thank you for mentioning that. You know, it's so great to have this other commission that we can rely on to, you know, our commissions are like our arms, you know, appendages of the city, of this body, to be able to do the work of the city that we can't always get to. And so just really grateful to the Arts Commission, the Public Arts Commission as well, and excited to for you guys to find new ways to collaborate.
Yes, great. Good.
All right.
I had one thing I wanted just to give you guys all the heads up on the planters on Commercial Street.
Mm-hmm.
So they've all been selected, and I know there was this desire to have.
Just can we do this right
Oh
now?
yeah, sorry. Should I say
coming
my
next.
Comment on this?
If not, I
Probably
can.
better not to. We'll
Yeah,
just-
no, that's
Yeah,
fine.
sorry,
No
sorry,
worries.
sorry.
That's
Yeah.
fine. I will.
I learned
when
something.
asked-
I learned something
You
in my
made Dean
position.
very happy.
My
Not an
apologies.
agendized item.
Yeah.
Yes, no worries. No worries.
But Stuart,
I can't wait to hear what you're about
we'll
to
get the
say.
information and share it with the community wide on our website and make it available to the council as well.
Great. We will do that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for your work,
Thank you,
Stuart.
Stuart. Always.
Um,
Appendages.
all right. See, you just start learning things about being mayor just before you leave. And then Gary's going to come in. He's not going to know anything. It's going to take him a whole year. All right. I'm looking for a motion to approve the project and signage.
I move we approve the project and signage.
I second.
Excellent. Gabby, roll call, please.
Councilmember Cece.
Yes.
Councilmember Klein.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Peterson.
Yes.
And Mayor Fernandez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Excellent. All right. Looking to our city manager for a city manager's report.
Sure. Our next meeting is on the 26th. You could go at 4 p.m. You could go to the ribbon cutting of Root and Stem Integrative Chinese Medicine. So you saw the proclamation for tonight. They're at 206 Province Mine Road, number 115. That's on the outside of the circle, I believe. Then you could come join us at the city council meeting. It'll be the mayor's final meeting, and also, as Steve noted, Neil Locks will end his term as the last elected city clerk for the city, which is pretty amazing. Please attend our Community Wildfire Protection Plan workshop hosted by our Fire Safety Advisory Committee tomorrow night here at Siemens Lodge. As Evan said, information about that and the other meeting is on our social media. There's also 2 vignettes on our social media, both about the priorities of our council, one specifically geared towards wildfire. And if I don't answer, if somebody's call, I'll answer the council, but if I don't answer community members' call this Saturday night, it's because my family will be watching Alice in Wonderland for the one and only Movies Under the Pines in the park this year. And you can find me in costume for the Steampunk Tea Party. If you don't know what steampunk is, then Google it. And that's all I have this evening, Madam Mayor.
That's exciting.
Excellent. And I'd like to say to my council members, do not text this man Saturday night unless it is absolutely necessary. All right, council member reports. Lou, have you anything?
Well, the Fire Safety Advisory Committee had a special meeting on Monday to present and explain the Deer Creek Wildfire Mitigation Plan and to allow for Q&A on that plan and to disseminate to the people what it is that we're doing to move that plan forward past the planning stage. Gary, did you also want to add anything about that meeting?
No. It was a good meeting.
Yes, it was. I'm glad we had it.
Nothing in public.
That's it.
Gary.
Yeah, a couple of things. The meeting was actually very, very good, and I think very important as we move forward with this project. I did want to, Councilmember Klein asked for a summary of the activities associated with the community process that we're underway. Danielle and I, the mayor and I, are working very closely with our consultants who have now interviewed over 25 community members from multiple positions on this topic. They are starting to share information with us.
Name the topic, please.
The topic is it was the pro-Palestinian, the ceasefire, the request for the ceasefire, and the community conversation, and the data gathering, which could lead us to making a decision about how we wanted to proceed. And there's a lot of information that's being gathered, that's being processed, but I think it's safe to say that we will likely be back with you at the next meeting with something for the council to consider.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary. Adam.
Well, I don't have much. Nevada City Film Festival next week, always exciting, 24th year.
Wow.
Having had a film in the first year, that makes me feel elderly. I didn't mean to look at you when I said that word, Gary.
Wow, I was
It
just imagining,
happened.
I didn't know a filmmaker
Just
too.
happened naturally. Also, my girlfriend's family is visiting Nevada City for their first time next week. They leave on the 26th. So if I have read the packet for our next meeting, that means I'm probably in trouble with my girlfriend. And if I haven't, I apologize.
It's hilarious. Huh. I don't have any committee stuff, but I just have to say I am full of pride. You could say I'm very proud of our mayor, Daniela Fernandez, for hosting the Pride flag raising event. To start out,
Can you move to the microphone?
sorry,
while you
yeah, this is
please
important.
I need this today.
Yeah, to start out with 3 people, raising a flag. How many? 3 years ago? 4 years ago, to have over 100 people there. And, the event was just so touching. It was very well curated. It was very well spoken by our mayor. And I just am so proud of you for doing that. And the kids there, the tears in their eyes. I mean, it meant a lot to so many people. And you really forget about that until you go there and you actually look at the people who are just in tears, just so happy and so captivated by all you were doing. You had some wonderful speakers up there. But as you were doing that, Lucy said, "Hold my beer." And got up there and just killed it with that was one of the best presentations that I've seen, Lou. I hope somebody has that on video, because if anybody hasn't seen that, you really have to. Because the two of them together did such an amazing job for an important segment of our community that doesn't get a lot of recognition. I was walking around with the kids, boosting them up to put flags in the holders, and they really wanted to put those flags in there. And it was just a touching event, and the way everybody sort of spread out down the street, and then it just started filling with color. It was wonderful. So thank you both, and thank you all for attending. It was just an amazing thing. So that's all I got.
Awesome.
Wow.
Thanks, Doug.
Nice,
That
nice, Doug.
that was really nice. Councilmember Cece, I would really like for you to bring some of that here to this table. Like, I miss that. I see it once a year, the last 2 years of the flag raising, when you give a speech. I was talking and I was like, I'm so tired of hearing myself talk. And then you got up and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm so grateful for your voice and the diversity of voices and the people that came out and spoke, to the youth that showed up, to the cast of Rent that came and sang. That was really so sweet and tender. Rent is, I think we're in the last weekend at the Nevada Theater this weekend. I'm going to see it tomorrow night. There might still be tickets. Please go buy them and go see it. And yeah, I'm really grateful. And Doug, the sort of color and the joy, we get still calls and emails about, how dare we do that, put those flags up. I'm sure the chamber does too, the city does, I personally have. But for every one of those that comes in, there's a number of young people or older people or people in the middle-aged people who just express their gratitude and joy, and Hillary Hodge from Grass Valley, they passed a resolution last night in Grass Valley, or a proclamation for Pride for the first time. And she, we had a really, really sweet exchange, and, they're making some movement over there. And it's really nice for us to be able to lead the way sometimes, to do things like that. And, nudge our neighbors into,
The 20th.
catching policy up to culture. So thank you, Doug. That was a really special thing. And also shift gears a little bit. Nevada County Arts Council is holding a leadership roundtable tomorrow at the Foundry. Thank you. And I'm really excited for that, engaging all the arts organizations in the community in a more meaningful way. So super excited and grateful to the Arts Council for that. And I think that's all I've got. I'm looking for a motion in a second to adjourn.
This was such fun. I don't want to leave.
I wanted to say one more thank you for the outstanding Pride celebrations. I mean, Shane.
Yeah.
Putting up the flag, and also I was just watching and being like, next year I need to remember just bring him ice cream because he's up there throughout all those speeches, and it's just sweltering.
Yeah.
And he's a trooper.
He's a showman.
He's a showman, big time.
A showgirl, if you will.
Yeah.
Sorry. Because it's Pride.
He'd be fine with it. He'd be fine with it.
Only because it's Pride.
But I would also comment that our city manager was present there on his day off as well.
Yes.
With us, and I think
Wouldn't miss it. Thank you, though.
Absolutely.
I move we adjourn.
Wait, you said something. That made me think of something, but I forgot. It's okay.
Showman, showgirl.
Showman, showgirl. No, I don't got it. Yes. Okay. So there's going to be a Pride event in Nevada City on the Sunday, the 23rd. Come out. It's going to be a block party. It's going to start as a rainbow walk. We'll start at 4:00 in the parking lot on Commercial Street, and then walk together down Commercial Street to Robinson Plaza, where there will be a stage and some entertainment, music, likely, I'm guessing, drag, and all sorts of fun Pride activities. So come on down and join us, all ages. All right, where's that motion?
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.